are taking, this is our time. Just breathe, this won't be a hard fight. The truth cash out in the light.
All right. Welcome to Sasquatch Unredacted Podcast. It's been a couple weeks. We had the Bigfoot conference. So we did some live stuff there with different channels and stuff like that. So we were pretty busy there and stuff like that. But had a great time. It was it was fun to be there and talk to you know, subscribers, people's encounters, other researchers, and stuff like that. We get to see evidence. We get to see a lot of merchandise, and we get to listen to some great speakers. So it was a lot of fun. We were pretty booked the month prior leading up to that. That was our Super Bowl. We had a fantastic time. If you want to see any footage of that, you can go to my channel, which was BFFG Bigfoot Research, and I did some videos there. If you want to see the a walkthrough of the conference and stuff like that. Also, you can go to Dirt Road Bigfoot. We did a live spot for him. We do it every year, and where I go around talking to people and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. So he did that live, so that'll be on his channel if you want to check it out, get an idea of the conference. This was this year's conference shirt right here. Pretty cool. I like it. I like it better than the years past. They were pretty normal, just bland shirts, but I like this one. So, I don't know. I think this is the shirt they were selling too. This was in the bag I got at the VIP dinner. So, I like the shirt. I like it a lot. Like I said, had a fantastic time. Met a lot of people. Met a lot of people that were in the chat room. I've met a lot of people that have emailed me or hit me up to, talk and stuff like that. And so it was a lot of fun to sit and talk and just have a good time. You're around like-minded people that all enjoy this subject, and we just have a great time. We have a lot coming up. We're back to normal, so we try to plan the upcoming shows every other week because that gives us a break. Because again, Johnny Two Bears and myself also have our research channel, so we need time to do that and also time for the podcast. But it also gives us time to find guests and stuff like that. So if any of you guys ever want to be in a show, you've had an encounter or you've seen a Bigfoot or anything like that, feel free. Feel free to email us at SasquatchUnredacted@gmail.com, and we'll hit you up and we'll talk to you and see about getting you on the show. We also, as y'all see, we also interview researchers, and they talk about their evidence. They talk about things that they're doing in the field and new technologies and stuff like that. So it's always a lot of fun, So we got people jumping in. There's Sharon. Hey, Sharon. Good to see you. There's Lenny. Big old Lenny. I got to meet Lenny in person at the conference, and we did dinner, and we hung out quite a bit. Lenny's a great guy. He's a good guy. A lot of fun. Good guy. Let me see this. What is this? Somehow contact the Nephilim. Yeah, Dean. I prefer not having comments like that, to be honest with you, dude. So I'm gonna. So, anyways, Johnny will not be here tonight. He has other engagements. Just happened to be one of those nights where he's got, his kids are in sports, and he's a very, very proactive dad. He's very involved in his kids' lives, and we can't, gig him for that. He's a great dad, and we got to meet his daughter. She came to the conference. Such a wonderful kid. Johnny and his wife are definitely doing a wonderful job raising kids. They're really good kids. So shout out to Johnny, and he'll be back with us. He just had other obligations and stuff like that. So we've got Patrick. Hey, what's up, Patrick? Who else have we got? We got Sharon. We got Dirt Roads in the house. Awesome. Who else we got here? Sunshine. Hey, Sunshine. Good to see you. Um, Good deal. It's already picking up. Great. So tonight, this is a name all you guys are familiar with, especially if you watch Dirt Road or other podcasts and stuff like that. Um, his name is Flatrock, and he's got some amazing stuff going on his property that he's going to talk about. And he's a big supporter of you know the Bigfoot community as far as certain podcasts and certain people and certain researchers. He's a smart guy. Can't pull the wool over his eyes. He's a good guy, and he's grounded. When we listen to his story on what's going on, this is going on his property, kind of like Johnny Two Bears, where Flatrock can walk out his back door and have an encounter. See what I'm saying? Or walk 100 yards into the woods behind his house and have an encounter. So that's very unique. Unlike myself, I have to travel to go to different places to research and stuff like that. It's really good that he has that opportunity, that unique opportunity to just walk out of his backyard and take part in what's going on in that world out there with Bigfoot. So I'm going to bring him on, and we're going to start at the beginning. What started this and what got him going and stuff like that. So let's bring on Flatrock. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, everybody. How y'all doing?
It's good to see you. It was really good to see you at the conference,
Yes.
and I thought it was really funny because I was on the phone with Dirt Road because we're lining up doing the a live spot for him, and he was like, "Hey, have you seen Flatrock?" And I was like, "No, man, I have not seen Flatrock. I have not seen him." So I'm at a booth, and you're literally this close to me. And I turn and look, and you turn and look at me, and it's like, Flatrock, So I ended up messaging Dirt Road and say, found him. So that was really cool, and we got you
Yeah.
in on the live spot at the beginning, and got you on there so everybody could see you and stuff like that. So what did you think about the conference?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I mean, it wasn't as crowded as usual, but I loved it. I always love them things. I do.
Yeah,
Love
I
going
haven't
around
got
that
the.
floor talking with people.
Yeah, it's a lot of walking because that place is huge. That place
Huge.
is huge. I think, to me, I don't know the final numbers yet of how many people or how many tickets they sold to give an idea of how many people were there. Because every year it's roughly around 2,000 or
Mm-hmm.
2,500, which is big. But it was more spread out this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
That it was. That
they
it was.
gave people a lot more room to walk around. So I think maybe that gave it the appearance that it wasn't as crowded. You know what I
Possible.
mean? But if you ever, especially when Maria Mayor was up on stage from
Mm-hmm.
Expedition Bigfoot, and you go into that part of the facility to watch her talk, dude, it was a packed house. There was a lot of seats filled,
Yeah.
and they set that up to hold a couple thousand people, and it was full. So
Yeah.
I think the numbers are better than what it actually looked like. But it was amazing. It was a lot of fun. You know.
I mean, there was a lot of people going, coming out with merchandise, you know, overall all day. It could have been, well, probably 2,000 people. But I'm just talking about, at one time,
Right.
when I'd go up there in front, I mean, it was spread out, like you said, just spread out.
Yeah. Because it's a long conference.
Hmm.
It's 9 hours long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really a 2 day event because
Yeah.
the night before, people are getting together at different locations, and then of course you have the VIP dinner and stuff like that. You got a lot of these people that hang out at the hotels and in the lobbies having meetings and talks and stuff like that. So I
Hmm.
think people come and go all day long.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
probably never 2,500 at one time, but
Right.
it's rotating constantly.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, did you go to the VIP dinner?
No.
Okay,
No.
because when I went, and it was a lot of people. And somebody made the comment that was probably the biggest VIP dinner they've had so far. Um, So that was pretty cool. That was interesting, and I did put a video out on my channel for the VIP dinner and stuff like that. So it was a good time. You get to meet a lot of people.
That
So
you do.
who were some of the people that you met that you were hoping to meet, or you were glad that you finally met?
Finally got to meet Lenny. That was one. Always glad to see old Lenny. I've talked to him quite a bit online. Of course, Stacy Brown, his crew, because he comes over here pretty good much. Another one, I was hoping to get up with Johnny, but every time I went toward him, I got stopped.
Mm,
Talk to somebody.
yeah,
Somebody wants to talk, you gotta sit there and talk with them, of course. And I had a few friends there, Moggs and Stevie B. They're really good friends of mine, so I talked to them for a while. And there were just so many of them, so
yeah,
many people you talk to, you just can't think of all the people you talk because you're talking to about 100 of them.
right.
Just nonstop,
Yeah,
just
I was
nonstop.
actually surprised to see Stacy Brown there because he wasn't there last year, but he was there
Yeah,
the year before,
yeah.
and that was really funny because I was sitting there and I was getting, I was on actually on the phone with Dirt Road, and I saw Stacy Brown. And I'm looking at him while I'm on the phone, like, "Hey, dude, wait 1 minute," because Stacy knows me, I know him,
Yeah,
and so once I got off the phone and everything, I was able to talk to Stacy, and of course I gave him his moment on the show so he could promote what he's doing because
yeah,
he's always doing something that's really interesting.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah.
And he comes at it, out of the box as well. I mean, he does some crazy experiments where he
Right.
goes. He
Well, he thinks outside the box. There's no doubt.
Yeah,
He thinks
big
outside the
time,
box, and
big
it may
time.
take stuff like that to
Yeah,
make something happen. So. Yeah, good times. It was a lot of fun, and you got to meet Marie Demont, who
yeah,
we've mentioned, we've
yeah,
had on the show.
yeah.
You got to meet Brooke,
Yeah.
who was on the show and
Got to
stuff. She
meet
was there,
Brooke.
and she was also on stage on the Skunk Eight Roundtable.
Hmm.
And then Brian King Sharp, who's one of the big names in the podcast arena for Bigfoot.
Yep,
You get to see
yep.
him and stuff like that. So it was a good time. It was a lot of fun, and I met some new researchers and stuff like um, Troy Palmer and Desi. So we're having them on the show. They will be on the show soon. Um, I met a buddy of mine. I really like Brian Darcy. He was with
Yeah,
them at their booth, and me and Brian have actually been in the field together, a couple of times. And
yep,
he's camped out with me. We went camping one day for like 5 days, and he was with me.
yep.
So that was really good. Hey, there's John Stewart. I know John. I know John.
Well, I
You know,
wanted to meet that Native American that got up there and spoke, but I never got a chance to get around to him either.
I I did get to speak to him, and me and him are in contact with each other to get him on the show.
Yeah,
So that'll be. Everybody knows I've always wanted to get the Native American aspect of it and get them on the show.
yeah.
So
And the only other one I didn't get to talk to up there was the new guy that's going to be on Expedition Bigfoot, the
yeah,
naturalist. I guess.
Bingo or Binko
Yeah,
or
exactly,
whatever his name.
exactly.
We were staying at the same hotel.
Yeah,
And it was really funny because I got to the hotel really early. I made really good time on the road. So check-in was at 3, and I got there at noon. But being on the road for 3 hours, I had to go to the bathroom. So I run into the hotel, and I say, hey, look, I know I'm early. I don't check in until 3. I'm fine waiting, but I really need to use the bathroom. She showed me where the bathroom was, really sweet girl. And I went in there, used the bathroom. So while I'm sitting outside waiting, he came over. He walked by and he said, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I recognized who he was, but I didn't want to bother him. He's just coming to check in and stuff like that. Then when we were at the conference, he saw me and he goes, "I know you." You know what I mean? Because me and him pretty much had the run of the whole hotel for hours because nobody had checked in yet.
yeah,
But the hotel was fantastic. They were able to. They said, "Hey, your room is ready. If you want to go ahead and get all in, you're good to go." So I was able to check in early, get a good nap and stuff prior to having to go to the VIP dinner. So let's get into you. We've had some discussion, and you made the comment that in the very beginning, you weren't you it wasn't you were a flat out non-believer.
I was
You
closed
weren't
minded.
you were not even agnostic about it. You were flat out, this doesn't there's no
don't
such
exist.
thing and stuff like that. So let's start there, because you talk about your brother, and you said you laughed at him,
Mm-hmm.
So let's start there. Let's talk about that and get into your
All
current
right,
situation.
all right. Um, we was already having problems with at my mom's, banging on the house over at my mom's. But me and my son, we come down and to spend some time with him, and my brother, he took off through the woods to go check out the river, and he got turned around back there. And he called us over a cell phone saying he can't find his way out. So I drive my car down the path that goes right out here in my yard and going back to the wood, and trying to beep him out, blowing my horn to try to get him, toward us. And it was dark, just got dark. And we're sitting there beeping, and the only light he's got is his cell phone. Yeah, that's the only light he's got, just a cell phone. And we finally got him out, and you could tell he was something was wrong with him when he come out. I was just looking at him as he just got scared out there. Getting turned around out there in the dark woods. Well, he come out and says he seen something big, walked up on it, and it scared him. And then he just blurted out, "I think I seen a Bigfoot." And he didn't believe in them neither. To be honest with you, he did not. But yet he blurted that out. And me, my mom, and my brother, we all snickered, laughed at him. Basically saying, you just seen a bear or something, and I don't want to say his name, but you just seen a bear or something, and you're just scared, got scared in the dark out there seeing things. But we teased him for a little while over that little incident. I even went and bought him a T-shirt. Evergreen just became the Bigfoot capital of Alabama, and they were selling some T-shirts over at the store. So I bought him one. Said Evergreen Bigfoot capital of Alabama. But I did it as a tease. Okay, and he knew it was a tease, and we teased him for a while on it. And to jump forward in this story, I'm sitting out there on my mom's front porch, on back porch, excuse me, and I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette, and I can hear Mr. Bobby working on the cook shack. You can hear him banging on that tin roof up there. And I just look over to my left, and there's this big old black thing, you know, just right there behind the bushes. But I can see him from a little above his waist up, and I'm looking, and it's just black, nothing but black. So I'm sitting there still looking at it, and it starts turning real. I'm talking really, really slow, and it finally got to where I could see his eyes looking directly at me, and also, I mean, it come in so fast at what my brother said. But all I could do, I mean, that the size of that thing, all I could do was drop my head, and I don't even want to curse, but that's what I was saying basically in my head, the OS, oh shit, oh shit, with my head looking down, and occasionally I'm, looking up with my head down, and you tell it was still looking at me, and all I was trying to do was figure out how to get back in that door into the house because there's nothing other than that bush between me and it.
Now, how far was he when you saw him? How far do
I
you
must say
estimate?
about between 30, 40 yards,
Wow, that's
if
pretty
that.
close.
If that. He was pretty close. I mean, it could have been closer, but I'm just, you
Right,
know,
right.
the distance is hard to judge. But it really scared the hell out of me. I just ain't never seen something that big before. I mean, it ain't just the height of these things; it's the width, and the girth of these things, the girth is just massive. It's same as the side to side is just so massive. You don't know what I mean. You just lose focus of really what's there, because that damn thing was just huge, huge. But I finally got in the door, and I screamed for my brother and my mom, which was also in the house. And about time we got to the window, to the kitchen window to look out it, it had done scooted out of there. But what it was doing, it was watching Mr. Bobby over there working on the cook shack. That's exactly what it was doing until it turned toward me, and that scared. That was scary. That was
So,
scary.
so you think he was pretty curious on what all the banging was all about?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, wanted to check it out, make sure it's
yeah,
safe. What is this? Yeah,
yeah,
because I'm pretty sure banging on a tin roof is pretty close to gunfire.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
the moral of that story though is, you know, me not believing my brother and me, wearing a foot in my mouth for teasing him, this whole time when that happened. That was,
Yeah.
I
Did
still
you?
wear that foot today, but I wear it proudly. I do.
But
I
but
wear that
but you
foot proudly.
apologized to him, right?
Oh,
You
absolutely,
you let him know that,
absolutely.
hey man, I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
were right.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
All
I mean,
right.
that was crazy. That was just crazy. To actually see something like that it's mind blowing. It really is. It's mind blowing.
Right. So you had that. That was your initial first encounter.
Yeah,
So now you're on Team Brother,
yeah.
and but you still got your son. You still got your mother. You got other
Mhm.
people that haven't seen it yet, haven't experienced it yet, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you saw it that day. So what happened after that? What
Well, let
what?
me let me back up first, because a lot of things happened before we even seen this thing. The way it all started. After my brother. Okay. Well, this is before my brother. My mom moved out here first, and she was having, something bang on her wall. You know, and first time she looked out there, nothing was there. So she called me up, told me about it. Said, "Mom, it's probably a kid." You know how we used to do it as kids ourselves. You'd go knock on a door and or ring a doorbell and take off. Okay, that's what it was like. All right. The second time that happened, something was tapping at her window, and she called me up. Said, Kenny, somebody's tapping at my window. And she held the phone up, and I could actually hear the tapping. And
Hmm.
then all of a sudden, boom, 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 and then started tapping again. This went on for a while, and I kept telling my mom, look out the curtain, see who it is. She was too scared to. She was the only
Well, I
one
don't
out
blame
here
her.
at this time.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
blame her.
either. So once it finally stopped, I guess about 30 minutes later, she grabbed up her dogs and hauled back to Panama City where I was living, and my brother as well at the time. Well, my brother ended up moving up here right after that, and so he could be right there, keep her safety and all that stuff. Well, during that time, um, my brother and his wife was walking his dog down the path. My home wasn't here yet or nothing, but walking them down the path, and when they was coming back to the trailer where they were living, matter of fact, they were living in an RV at the time, my brother and his wife. But about the time she got back to the door, Bobby was telling me, you could hear some crashing coming through the woods, and next thing you know, this thing is screaming at the wood line at them. And that was the next thing that happened that before I got out here. Now, once I moved out here, But I go back. Let me go back a little bit further. I came out here to go hunting one time.
Well, like you said, and a lot of people don't. Let's kind of draw a picture for them.
Okay.
You have like 20 acres, but it's surrounded by like 100,000 acres.
Yeah,
So
25
it,
acres surrounded by thousands and thousands of acres.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I tell people is, somebody will say, "Well, I only got 5 acres of land," and then researchers will be like, "Oh man, well there's not one living on just 5 acres."
Yeah.
You got to look at everything around it
Yeah.
because they don't know barriers. So
Right.
5 acres, you see 5 acres,
Hmm.
they see thousands and thousands of acres.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the nearest neighbor out my back door is 2 miles. That's my
Wow.
nearest neighbor that way. Outside my family, the nearest neighbor is 2 miles through the woods right there.
Now, have you ever
Uh,
spoken to the neighbors? Have they had any weird stuff or anything like that? Or
Mr. Patterson, who is about 3/4 of miles that way, lives up there close to 31. He has watched them one actually come out my yard and cross the road right there. That was during November of 22, I believe. He had seen, or it might have been 21. Watched it cross the road right there.
wow,
Just going across the street. But yeah, there's even a on the Bigfoot mapping project. There's a sighting from a hunter about 300 to 500 yards that out toward the front anyway, toward the front of the yard, where there's a Class A sighting for the hunter, about 300 to 500 yards
wow.
straight out that way. They're on BFRO. There's a Class A sighting at the bridge up this way on 84, and a Class A sighting on over here on 31 on the same river on the other side of my house. So both bridges and both Class A sightings, and we're stuck right in the middle of it.
Now, let me ask you something. How long had your mother lived in that home?
Uh, Maybe a year, not even a year when this started going on.
Now, was this a new home or was it a house that was there that she moved
No,
into?
no,
She
no. It,
purchased and
it
moved into.
it was a new trailer. I mean, she's got her another home now that she lives in, but this is when she first moved out here. She just had a regular 1 bedroom little trailer, out front, and that's when she first moved out here.
So, did she was so to move the bigger place in? Did she have that land cleared and
Yeah,
put it
yeah,
in and got it situated where she wanted it and moved in?
yeah, yeah. I came over here, and cleared out. Me and my brother cleared out a good 2 acres to put her new home at. You
And
know,
how long was she there before she started having things happen?
oh, within 6 months to a year, when stuff started happening.
So I wonder if that was the domino effect of clearing that land, moving into their area that they weren't used to seeing somebody in, an area that they
Correct.
walked through easily, and now all of a sudden, whoa, wait a minute, there's people there. So
Yeah.
that could have drawn a
Now,
lot of
the
interest.
when all the banging was up front, when she was up front, I believe when we was digging the water line from the pump over to her house, all that racket we was making digging down into the ground, that I think that was the noise that actually caused the banging,
Right,
at first. But once we moved back here to the back of the property, that's when all the other stuff started happening. It wasn't
right.
just banging then. It got it got kind of dangerous, because we're thinking human beings at this time. We're not thinking these critters. Didn't even know about these critters other than what my brother had said. That was the only thing.
So
That,
even though you're out in the middle of nowhere, you still think it's people.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, because this was a prime hunting property. Before we bought it, there's no house. We're the first people to ever live on this property, okay? This was prime hunting property. That's what it was used for. It was a little private, place for people to come in and hunt. Okay, I can shoot a deer right out my back door. That's how easy it is to hunt right here. Okay, and the people who we bought this from, the only thing they told us when we first bought it was don't leave garbage out. That was the only thing they told us. That was, in the nig was the, don't leave garbage out. But, when people say that, you're thinking that bears,
Bears.
coons,
Yeah.
possums, coyotes, just the normal little stuff. Not thinking they might be talking about these things,
Right. Right.
but that's, I mean, we still bought the property, because, I mean, hell, they sold it to us cheap, $2,200 an acre.
Wow.
That's a good price. Now
Oh
it's
yeah.
$10,000 an acre, so that's a big jump from 22 to 10.
Right. Right. So your brother had something going on, and your
Mm-hmm.
mother was dealing with noises and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
and now you've had your first sighting, a
Mm-hmm.
Class A sighting,
Mm-hmm.
and so now you're on Team Brother. At this point, with you and your brother now both saying these things are there, did your mom buy into it and say, "Yep, okay, I believe you. That's what's
Yeah,
going on"?
yeah. She
Okay.
started pulling around, but she still wasn't 100% there. She knew stuff was happening. Okay, because at this time we done lost a dog. My dog done got hit. You're still getting a little banging here and there,
Now,
but
explain to people what you mean by your dog got hit.
all right. This was late afternoon. I had just got Boo within a few months because of my other dog passing away. I was still in an RV. My house was here, but it wasn't set up yet. And so I'm standing at the door and I'm calling for Boo. He's out in the driveway. And next thing I know, he's spinning around yelping like he got hit by a car.
Mm.
And he finally comes running up, and I walked over there and I found this big old rock like this right here laying right there where he got hit, where he was spinning. So, at this time, I'm thinking, somebody just in the woods just threw a rock, hit my dog. And I'm thinking it's human still, because
Right,
this was
because
before we knew about them.
before your sighting, right?
So what I did, because during this, but right before my dog got hit, we kept hearing, well, every time we pull up in the driveway to the trailers, we'd hear walking away from us. Every time we pull up in the yard, you'd hear walking away from us going through the woods. You'd yell, "Hey!" and it'd stop, but then you'd hear it, eventually just moving on away. So we're thinking as people. So I set up a floodlight in the woods right there in that block, and I set up a camera up under the trailer, up under my RV, basically fifth wheel, and pointed it that way. And unbeknownst to me, I went through that video a couple of days later, and I'm seeing what looks like a human child walk in, not walk in, but crawl in, and you could see what looks to like a child face looking between two trees, looking right at you, right at that camera, you know, and it looks so human, and it looks like a child. It's in one of the folders I sent you that you couldn't get in, but it's just crazy to actually think there's a child out here in these woods at 2:30 in the morning, you know, in our yard. It's mind blowing, but
Right.
yet there it was.
Well, and
And
that definitely tells you it's a family unit.
yeah, Yeah.
You
Now I
got
have done
family units.
seen two family units out here. I've got both of them. One on pictures, which I took of them right out my back door here, and the other family group I was on my mom's back porch filming toward this what I call a nesting area, and you can see them right there in the in that little area up in the trees and all that hiding away. But you can see every one of them's face, every one of them's face, every one of them.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. So now everybody's a believer in the house.
Mhm.
What happens next?
Well, my mom still ain't quite a believer until she's seen it. Now, when she seen it, her and Mr. Bobby was coming back from eating, and it's nighttime. They're driving down the driveway, and off to their left, right before you pull into where my mom lives, off to the left, inside that little hole area over here on the other side of the driveway here, they see two big lights looking at them, right behind a tree. And there's nothing there. Like I said, there's nothing there for 2 miles, okay? There shouldn't be no light source or nothing through there. But, they had their lights on. When they seen these two eyes, Bobby slows down, and then he flips his bright lights on and whips this way real quick. And they can see the whole silhouette of it and see both eyes. It moves back behind this tree, and they said you could see it, you know, coming around this side, then coming back around this side. They said they couldn't see no color. All they could see was the total outline of it, and no matter with the bright lights on it and them being that close to it, they still couldn't see no color or nothing. It was just solid black, but they both eyes. They say they were seeing both eyes, just back and forth, around that tree. That's when my mom and Mr. Bobby become 100% believers.
So now everybody's Team Sasquatch. Everybody knows
Yeah,
it's there.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay. So now that everybody's on board, everybody knows it's there. Everybody. So what did you do? What did you do? Because evidently moving or leaving wasn't an option. So because y'all are invested in this, you put
Mm-hmm.
homes there, you've cleared lands, you've laid pipe, you put in the back work. You weren't going nowhere.
Mm-mm.
So what did you do after that? Now that you know they exist.
All right, let me back up just a little bit more,
Sure.
before I go there.
No, that's fine.
What got us, our interest really peaked, okay? July 4th, 2019 happened. Uh, we had a good meal grilled out on the back porch, you know. Mr. Bob went home. There's another Bob here as well. We got Bob, Mr. Bobby, and my brother Bobby. Okay, so Mr. Bob himself, he lived up front where my brother lives now, but he had called me up. He said, Kenny, somebody just crossed the yard. Just seen somebody cut between my house and your mom's." So I got my rifle out because they should be absolutely nobody out here. Nobody. After all what we, been going through with the banging and all that, we went after this person, okay, that we was thinking was a person. And we couldn't find him. So we went back up on Mom's back porch. And about the time we got up there, we started hearing some rustling off to the side right here in this block right here behind my house. And I asked, "Oh, Bob," I said, "Bob, you hear that?" He said, "No." But then right after that, he heard the rustling. So we walked back down the porch and went over to that block. And we told this dude, "Come on out. We hear you. Just come on out and get out of here." Don't, no answer. Said it again. Again, no answer. So finally, I just said, "Listen, you going through these woods. Don't you come back through this yard." And then by the time I said that, Bob shot a bullet up in the air.
Mm.
We all went home. Well, late that night, don't know what time it was. The next thing that went on was so much screaming, banging. You could hear just stuff. You could hear boxes ripping open, which was on my mom's back porch. Okay, and this is scared the shit out of us. Be frank with you. And there wasn't no sense to call law. Law's 15 miles away from us, if not a little further. Okay, so by the time we called law, it'd be over and done with. But anyway, they got out there, just all kind of racket, but they never come around my mom's trailer right there. Her new home. Never come around that new home to where I can actually see who it was. But that ended. But the next night I put a recorder out on my mom's back porch to see if these people are still coming up in our yard. I did get some good evidence, good recordings off that night, and but I can't play it here. But you could actually hear them beating their chest. You can actually hear them opening the grill, lapping up the grease. You can actually hear them talking. You can hear something laughing, ha ha, da, like that. Um, but still, knowing from Mr. Patterson that there was a lot of people run out of these woods, a bad element of people, that used to be here a long time ago, I guess drug people would run out of here. And that's what my first thought was, after all that racket, we got meth heads around here, because that's what I thought it was. I mean, that was crazy that night that happened, just downright freaking crazy. But I eventually called the cops that morning, called them out here, told them exactly what happened. Because I got guns, so I ain't worried about people, uh, messing with us. Cause we will shoot, but they never showed themselves. Um, where am I at? I called the cops, told them what happened. Said if it happens again, call them right then. They'll get here as fast as they can. And basically, that was the last time that we heard them screaming like that until you know I started seeing what I seen here. You know what I had seen here, which I got basically on footage. It was done.
Uh-oh. We lost him. He must have hit something, disconnected him. Oh, he's back.
Oh, did
You're,
I leave?
yeah, you're back. I don't know what
Where
happened.
was
It's
I
never
at?
done
Where
that
did I leave off
before.
at? Yeah,
We were
where
talking
did I
about
leave off at?
where the recordings are screaming, and then you called the cops.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, cops told us if it happens again, call them as it's happening. They get out here as fast as they can. Okay, so that all went through. So anyway, basically everything went like quiet for a little while. Not
Now
long, but it
let's
went
back up
quiet.
for a second. Now, when the police got there, did they
Mhm.
do any kind of investigation? Did they walk around? Did they
They
look? Or
walked. They walked back there. You can see the rip boxes. They even did the rip boxes that next night. You could actually hear a box getting ripped on recording. You can actually hear a damn box being just ripped.
and you played
But
that stuff for them. You played that
no, that
evidence
was
to the.
the
Oh,
next night. That
oh,
was
okay,
the
okay,
night that they got there. They got there that morning. The rip box that I recorded was that same night.
okay, okay.
Not the night before, the night of, when the cop got there. But I eventually found out our local cops and our county cops know these creatures are real out here. Okay, they've been called to a lot of other homes other than ours, so they know they're real.
Now, how did they
Um,
treat you when you gave them the report of what was going on? Did they take it serious, or did they?
they did take it serious, but I kind of the way I took it, looking back, they knew what it was.
Mm,
Looking back,
right,
but at that time, you know, I'm thinking these are people that's doing this. I'm thinking what Mr. Patterson had told us, about the bad element that used to be out here. That's where my thoughts are,
right,
not
right.
what what the cops is actually thinking.
I have no idea what is going on here. Man, every time we get some good stuff, hopefully he comes right back, guys. Hold on. Um, somebody had made the comment, yeah, it's the letter people. Yeah, that happens every time we get into something really serious and the side of it. Then, um, there he is. Stuff like this happens.
Yeah. Anyway, I just don't know. My mind wasn't there where
Right,
Bigfoot was when that night happened. I just wasn't there. I just thought it was people or meth heads out in the woods, causing problems, or which come in later was people trying to run us off this property. That was
right.
my thoughts. Never Bigfoot, never. Not till after I seen that one off the porch, which wasn't too much longer after that, But I came over here while I was unpacking, and I seen a light source, just a one light between my house and my mom's house, and there's no lights between our houses. So I looked at it and I seen it blink, and it really caught my curiosity, And then it blinked again, and then I seen it move. It
Mm,
just scooted sideways more toward my way. So I wanted to film it, thinking it was a bear, So I put the baby monitoring camera, which was the only camera I had at the time here in the house, put it there in the window, and went into the room and was watching the monitor. And this video total length is 2.5 hours of this thing just standing in place, out in the open. It's nighttime, but it's out in the open, and you can see it blink, and then it is scoot, sideways, not forward, backwards, sideways,
right.
until it got here to this tree, and then, as I'm filming it still, it moves around this tree, which is, I guess, 15, 20 feet out this window right here, and it moves around the tree. And then it got to the edge of the film of the monitor, so I bumped that camera over twice. And when it seen me bump that camera, is when it started going down and to the back, and it went back there to the corner over there, and it just sit there for a while, just scooted down. I ended up getting a good footprint off of that thing.
Now,
But
these cameras that you set up and stuff, they're night vision.
well, this camera I was using at the time was just a baby monitoring camera. The
Oh,
other
okay.
camera that I used when I was over at the RV to point out there in the woods was a just a regular old Canon camera, old model Canon camera. Just filming there in the woods. And that's where I caught that child looking thing back there. Just a child looking thing.
Right. Yeah, because there's a lot of reports that, especially when you're running night vision, and baby monitor cameras also have night vision, so you can see the baby sleeping and stuff.
Yeah.
They'll stand right outside the max radius of where you could see them.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened to us in the field where we caught eye shine, but I was only wearing a headlamp, and the headlamp is only going so far, and it was outside of the range of the headlamp, but it was just enough light to give eye shine. So what you experienced is pretty common when it comes to cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So At what point did you get your bravery back and start exploring the woods and stuff? Have you explored the woods and found
Well,
anything out there that's interesting?
well, before I seen these creatures, I was hunting about 70 yards out my front door here that way. And I'm sitting in a tree stand, and this was afternoon time. And next thing I know, I'm hearing three knocks over here, three knocks over here, then three knocks, then three knocks, and then it did it again, same thing. And then next thing you know, you hear something come stomping up this ridge line, but it's like a washed out ridge. It goes like this right here, and it's real steep, but it's a washed out ridge line. But you can hear something stomping coming up that ridge. And I got my gun thinking it was something big fixed to come out where I could pop it, but it never showed itself. Okay, never thinking these were Bigfoots doing these, cause I ain't never experienced these things before. But the knocking, I eventually found out later. The knocking on this side, knocking on that side. But you blow that stuff off when you don't know about it. You thinking that's just a woodpecker doing that.
Right.
But you got a woodpecker on both sides of you doing three knocks on, back and forth with each other, and then that whatever it was come up that ridge. But I stayed there for about 30 more minutes, and I came on out, and never got shooting up, of course. But what was your question again?
No, just because like I said, you've got 20 acres of your own. Have
Yeah.
you walked that property and found anything interesting? Like you said, you found a good print on the
Oh,
when
okay.
on the
Yeah,
one in the
yeah.
camera. Have you found other prints? Have you found any structures? Have you
Oh,
found
yeah. Well,
anything that
structure.
tells you that okay, something has definitely
Yeah,
made my
yeah.
property his property?
Now we do have two small Indian mounds out here. Okay, the one over here on this side of our property, and one just off our property up front. I mean, it's just off our fence line up front, but that's there. Footprints. I got a bunch of footprints. I never cast those because I don't research or nothing, so I don't care about
Right.
casting. I'll take a picture of it, but that's as far as I'm going to go with it.
Right.
Structures. I see a bunch of structures, but I don't know enough about structures to say this made it or that made it or whether done it or it's natural or
Right.
whatever.
But
So
as far as structures, we can probably let's rephrase it. Have you seen quote structures, but it's something that you looked at and you said that's not normal?
yeah, yeah. All right. I had some researchers from Louisiana come up. This was in 21. And I took them back to the woods. We seen this big old trail right off I call a little high grass area. Okay. I took them back up in there and we found like a little igloo hut. And it had a door and everything, but it was shaped like a igloo hut made of stick and straw. So we seen it. We also found hair right there close to it, but it was on the outside of the hut. And then we found a really nice footprint there. They did cast that one, and it turned out really nice. But I
Do you
was
remember? Do you
interested.
remember the size of it? Did they measure it and tell you the size
It
of
was
the
about
print?
it was about 16 inches.
Okay.
16. Now, what I was interested in was inside that hut. Okay, so a friend of mine who has already been here, you know, he was basically a book researcher. He wasn't a field researcher yet. He is now, but he was basically a book researcher back then. He called me up, asked me if he could come over and check me out, check out the place. I said, sure, come on. He actually had, I did too, had a daytime sighting, right here on the side of the block. But the next time he come over, I told him to bring a one of them car vacuum cleaners, dust busters. So what I had in mind is to go over where that little hut was and go across the ground,
Right.
inside that little hut. and see if we can't pick up any hair or anything.
Right.
Okay,
That's a good idea.
we actually picked up a nice little hair in there. Sure did.
That's a good idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about because a few years back, me and some guys were researching an area, and we found something that was like an igloo type, structure. And
Hmm.
I actually got on my hands and knees and crawled inside.
Hmm.
And then once I got inside, dude, I could stand up. I had all the room in the world. And what I had noticed in the middle of the floor, around close to the middle, was a small hole, maybe 4 or 5 inches deep, and
Hmm.
it had a stick in it about the size of a number two pencil
Hmm.
stuck in it, like something was picking and
Yep.
digging in that hole. And that was one of the things that popped in our mind is, if you're going to use a stick as a tool to dig or whatever to look for something, if it's grubs or playing, whatever it is, you have to have a thumb.
Speaking of what you just said, I got a picture on my Facebook page of a stick that got pushed up. This is my fire pit now. It used a stick to pull all the stuff over to the edge, shove that stick in the ground, pinning all that trash up against the wall of the fire pit to get to the food that was down on the bottom of that fire
Wow.
pit. And I took a picture of that. You can actually see the stick that's pushed in the ground holding back all that trash, to where it could get to the bottom of the fire pit.
That's pretty interesting too because that's some intelligence. That's
Yeah,
using a tool.
yeah.
See what I'm saying? Which is extremely rare. I mean, we know about maybe possibly using rocks to break open nuts or different things. Using a rock as a weapon. They
Hmm.
might use it to hit a deer or hog or something. Who knows? Because if you're that big, you could probably pitch a rock at 100 and some miles per hour. So,
Most likely
um,
so.
and of course the sticks in the ground and stuff like that. So that's the first I've heard of that, and that's
Yeah,
really interesting because
yeah,
that's some intelligence. It's
yeah.
using a tool to placate what it's trying to accomplish, which was
That's
get
right.
to the bottom and get some food. That's pretty interesting.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we've had these creatures come up on our porch. I've actually got, you can actually hear this on the recording if you actually amplify it up. But I caught this video. I was filming out my mom's bedroom window because I got to the point where I was moving my camera a lot. Never leaving it at one place every night. It'd be in a different place. Okay, and I was getting uh, really good stuff, but just by moving it.
Right.
They always.
What?
The
That's a
thing
good
is,
idea.
they always kept coming looking for my camera. Always kept coming looking for my camera. I mean, cause I'd always catch eye shine, but after that, I was never catching nothing else until I moved my camera, and then you start catching them. Then you move it again. You catch them, might take a little while, but you end up catching them. As long as you keep moving that camera, and that's how I got success on what I was catching because I kept moving my camera. They
That's a good
always,
idea.
and I
Yeah.
always believe they come looking for it. You know?
Well, yeah, because and that makes a lot of sense because if you put up cameras and leave them there,
Yeah.
one of the theories is that it keeps them away because
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to be seen. And there's the theory that they do see infrared.
Yep.
But if you're constantly moving it, you're constantly confusing them. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And when you
Yep.
confuse them, they'll make a mistake.
That's right.
See what I'm saying?
Because
They'll
I
make a
seen
mistake.
Johnny put out a really good video of basically what I was doing on his channel today. Okay, eye shine. You can actually see that eye shine running by, but you can see that thing. Actually, look at the camera because you can see that eye shine just brighten way up. So he's looking straight into that camera when he does that. And I left a comment, told Johnny he needs keep moving, just move your camera, just move that camera. He'll come looking for it again. He'll come looking for it. Cause that thing come looking for Johnny's camera. That's how he caught that eye shine.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
my
that's
personal belief, but I believe every bit of it.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So now everybody's involved, everybody believes, and you guys are still living there. Everything's kosher. So how often is it still occurring that you're having something going on? If it
All right.
either be around the house or something in the woods, it's still active.
Yeah, it's still active today. Now, the last good vocal I got was February 27th. I think them creatures were here for about a week. 'Cause we caught something on the 23rd. That's when Stacy and a couple other researchers were here. In fact, we caught something on the 23rd, two things on the 23rd. And then again on the 27th is when I caught like 3 minutes of growling. I took my dog out. It was about between 10:30 and 11:30. Took my dog out, used the bathroom, and you could hear him out there, but I thought it was like breathing myself, but after pulling the card out of the camera that I got set up, for listening out there, um, it was growling that this thing was doing. And if you want to hear it, I could play it for you. You could very well hear this thing growling, and he's growling pretty hard, pretty darn hard. Let me pull it up for you.
Sure, we'll see if we can hear it.
Oh yeah,
That'd be
you'll be
awesome.
able to hear it. I'm gonna turn this speaker on so you can hear
Sure,
it.
sure. Yeah, I haven't learned how to multitask on this thing yet, so
I mean, there's still like 2 minutes left to it. But
no, that's good. That's good.
yeah, but that's
you
what
ain't
it was
gotta give us
doing
the
out
whole
there.
cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool because Johnny would love that right now. We had something happen to us a couple years ago in October. Um, I would love for him to hear that to see if there's any kind of comparison to what we encountered when we were camping when Johnny Two Bears and his guys came down.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. Um, those are the things that we try to explain to people when you're out there and you hear something like that. It will definitely put the hair on your skin up.
Yeah.
It makes you decide that I'm probably in the wrong place at the wrong time right now. I need to go someplace where I feel a
Yeah.
little bit safer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that's really good. That's awesome. Um, and that's like I said, you're in a very unique situation where
Yeah.
you don't have to go far, and
Only got
you
to go out my back front and back door.
that's
That's
it,
it.
and that's safe, and that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
you feel comfortable when it's daylight, setting up some equipment on the porch, and then
Yeah.
going inside and enjoying your night. Come back tomorrow when it's daylight again. Get the equipment and then sit and listen to it. Um,
Actually, Richard, I built my own parabolic to
oh,
where
nice.
I can listen to everything that goes outside from right here, right where I'm sitting right now, and mass record when I start to hear them, and pause it when they're done. You
Right.
know, but what I done, I built me a little parabolic. The. The microphone wire runs into my camera. Okay, I Bluetooth my camera to my iPad, which is here in the living room with me, and I can listen to everything that goes on outside. Everything that goes on outside.
Flatrock, I'm gonna say this, and I mean it with all honesty. Stop calling yourself not a researcher. Because you're doing it, man. Don't. You're in that rabbit hole with the rest of us.
Well, there's a big difference between, what y'all do, which is in the field, okay? Y'all are field researchers.
Well, you got to
I'm
understand the only
still,
reason we call ourselves field researchers,
I consider myself an armchair researcher.
but you're not, and I'll tell you why. The reason why you can call me a field researcher is because I've got to drive someplace to go into the field to attempt to try to get what you're getting from your own back porch. You are a field researcher. It's just the field is your back porch. You're
Yeah,
lucky, like Johnny Two Bears.
yeah,
You've got activity going on right there. There's
yeah,
no use to load up a bunch of gear and backpacks and water and all this, load up in your vehicle and then drive somewhere to go out in the woods and and it's like where I go, it's unfamiliar. I mean, it's a huge area and I'm always trying to find a different location to check out and stuff like that. Which is very unsafe for me. A lot of people don't realize it, and I've said it a few times. When I go out there, I'm by myself.
yeah.
Okay, uh, I'm sure Alabama's a lot like Florida. It's a very inhospitable place to be out in the Florida swamps, the Florida woods, and stuff like that. There's way too many things out there that want to do us harm. I'm not talking Sasquatch. I'm talking
Hmm.
hogs, bears, cougars. There's so many things. We got tons of different poisonous snakes. You're lucky enough that I mean, I wish I had what you have, where I can go out on my back porch, set up night vision, set up thermal, set up all my equipment, and then go inside
Yeah,
and have a cup of coffee and relax. See what I'm
yeah,
saying? So you are a researcher. You're just doing it from the safety and the comfort of your home. Which, trust me,
exactly.
I wish I could do that. You know what I
That,
mean?
that,
There's a lot of guys out there that are tromping through the forest and hiking for miles
yeah,
that wish they could do what you're doing
yeah,
because at my age, I'm not a spring chicken. I get tired, and I tell this. It's one of my little catchphrases. I said, as far as you hike out, you got to hike that back. And when you're hiking it back, you have half the energy you had when you
yeah,
hiked out there. So I would love to be in your position where I can just sit outside and you know and
yeah,
enjoy myself, knowing that they're there, knowing that they may show themselves, and
yeah,
if they're not, I can go inside the house. Maybe that'll make them feel comfortable enough to make a mistake and come out. So,
yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what you say. I'm going to call you a researcher. I'm going to call you an
Yeah,
investigator, whatever you want to call. But
I'm a collector. I'll leave it. I put it
you
at
can
that.
call it
I'm a
whatever you
collector.
want, man.
Yeah, I bring researchers over here.
Yeah.
And and I've been lucky enough to have them here actually when stuff was happening.
Right.
And they caught some really good stuff. Really good stuff. My friend Bud, Angie, Pat and Joe, they come over. They've been here. Pat and Joe've been here 3 times. Bud and Angie, they've been here twice, but they come together now. And Miss Angie, she had a sighting this past year in October of 24. She had a sighting. Bud caught something on thermal. I mean, it's not obvious of what it is, but whatever it is, it's behind it. It looks like it's peeking from around a tree. And as soon as he puts that thermal on that thing, it jumped back in behind that tree, and we never seen it again.
Yeah. I'm a
Uh,
big fan of thermal. For the simple fact is, it's harder to hide from thermal than it
yeah,
is night vision and stuff. Because night vision, it lets you see at night, but
yeah,
all the obstacles are still there. You can still hide behind a bush. You can still hide behind a tree. You can do all that.
right.
Where thermal will highlight, the temperature, and you can see something that you
Yeah,
usually wouldn't see. I'm a big fan of thermal because it does not use a beam. It's
right.
taking in information. Oops, sorry. It's taking in information where night vision is sending out a beam and sending out and then receiving. Um, so you might want to look at that. Try to get something a fairly good thermal
Yeah,
and set that up somewhere and just let it record for whatever hours and then come back. Because a lot of them have SD cards and stuff like that. I've got one that it'll record video and photos. And I've never ran out of space on it. It holds like 200 and something thousand photos. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
and it's not very expensive. It is expensive for most, but it's not in comparison. Let's put it that way to other thermals.
Yeah.
My thermal costs about $500, where there are thermals that cost absolutely a whole lot more.
Yeah, like this one right here, that thermal there, I paid $3 for that one, but it's for long distance.
Right.
The one I got right here, that's the one, the $500 one, maybe
Right.
you're talking about, but I
Yeah,
got
I've got
two of
night
them.
vision. I've got a Psionics and I've got an Akaso, but really the thermal is what I think is going
Mm-hmm.
to help out the most
Yeah.
because there's a lot of researchers. I research during the day, and I've gotten some slack lately. People are like, "Oh, you're always out there during the day."
Yeah.
Well, one has to do with the fact that my work schedule. I can only go when I can. Second is I'm by myself.
Yeah.
It would be foolish for anybody by themselves to go out into the forests and swamps of Florida at night
Yeah.
by yourself. It's just not a very wise thing to do, and you wonder why people come up missing or something like that. Because I tell people all the time, a hog will not only kill you, but they will eat you.
Yeah.
There'll be nothing left of you for people to find. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's not a wise thing, and I don't. Even when I'm with a group or anything like that, yeah, we'll go out at night, but you got people there in case something happens or somebody gets injured or twists an ankle or something like that, or has a heart attack or whatever
Yeah.
could happen. But I am also a very big fan, and it's kind of like what you're doing, where if you're at night and it's quiet and you're sitting around the tents and the campfire or whatever, is and have conversations, talk to
Mm-hmm.
each other,
That's when it
act
happens.
act normal. I'm a big believer that these things, if they're there in that particular area at that time, will come and check you out.
Yeah.
And I think they're very curious. So I think, in a sense, they're going to let you know they are there by hitting a tree, throwing something, or something like that. Because,
Yep.
like I said, we were talking earlier before we went live. The I've had two incidences where these something, let's just leave it at that, came into my camp and did things to my tent, pressed on the roof and stuff like that, rubbing the roof and stuff like that. So they are curious. I think they are curious.
Very.
But I think they will let you know. I think they're curious. Like I said, I've had things thrown. I've had signs given to me on the trails that weren't there when I walked by there 30 minutes ago. I think they're little signs saying, "Hey, we're here. We're watching you." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they've never done me harm. Have they scared me? Absolutely, absolutely. And I think they scared me on purpose. You know what I mean? I think with you guys, I think they scared you on purpose because you're the stranger. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they're like, "Hey, we need you out of here. You need to go away." And in my very very first encounter, I think that's what it was. I got too close. I was at a place where I should not have been, and they quickly let me know that I needed to leave that area. So,
Yeah.
but at no point was I ever harmed. No point was I, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Well,
All they did was create this massive curiosity in me, like they do everybody else. And now we're out there, trying not necessarily to prove it's true or not, but prove it to ourselves again, or to get that evidence so we can let the world know that, look, man, we're not crazy. We're not. We're not.
yeah.
We're not
It's
crazy.
seeing the unknown, that really puts the shock in you. It's coming into this, not even believing they're real, not even having that even a thought of your mind, and there they are right there in front of you. It
Yeah,
shocks your system,
it does. Absolutely.
and when you don't know jack about them, all them things that go through your mind, they're gonna rip us apart and eat them. Which, like I said, that was my thoughts right off the bat. Just by the immense size of that thing,
No,
and
and I want to
that.
clarify that. I want to clarify that. I'm not saying that they wouldn't hurt somebody, because
Hmm.
I believe at some point they have hurt somebody
Yeah.
or something like that. But I'm also one of those people that believes that we don't know the full circumstances of what happened to that person that created that. Probably did something wrong. A hunter probably shot at one, or and it came after him,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody walked in like a bear. If you come in
Yeah.
there with a bear and its cubs, that bear's going to come at you.
Yep.
A lot of people don't realize a black bear playing dead does not work with a black bear.
Yep.
You could talk to a lot of biologists and stuff that deal with these animals, especially in the state of Florida. They've all told me the same thing. If it's a black bear, you got to fight it. You got
Yep.
to fight it until it loses interest in fighting you. It's a live or die situation. Where grizzly, you can roll up in a fetal position, act dead, and you may get hurt, but it's going to walk away at some point and be bored with you. Black
Yep.
bears don't do that. So if you come across a black bear in Florida, you got to take that very serious. And two, especially if they may have cubs in the area,
Yeah.
that could happen with a Sasquatch. You walked in, you let's say you walk down a trail and you're in between a parent and a juvenile Sasquatch. They may take that as a threat. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
we always got to be aware of stuff like
Well,
that. But I
I
think for the
thought,
most part, they're passive.
yeah, I believe when Bob shot a bullet up in the air that night, that we went thinking it was a person that went to the yard. I believe that's what really, really kicked them off on us. You
Right.
know, they was just doing normal things like banging on the house, you know,
Curiosity stuff. Yeah.
and we didn't know. My mom and my brother didn't know that they was possibly feeding them with the dog food and all, and that was probably what was causing the banging. You
Right.
know, while they was banging on the trailer or tapping on the window, they wanted some food out there, dog food or something.
Well, I think
Um,
they're very self-aware,
yeah,
and like you said, that area where you live is a prime hunting area,
yeah,
and I'm pretty sure they've encountered hunters and saw what hunters do. They have this bang stick and it kills something, and so when your neighbor or whatever shot the gun, they probably took that as a threat,
yeah. I believe
and
that. I believe
and it
that.
and it pissed them off. They're like, whoa,
Yeah,
wait a minute here, we're just playing around, and curious, and all of a sudden now you're shooting at us.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. That's right. I mean, I believe that's what really kicked them off to start, really getting, mainly this big brown one. I talk about this big brown one a lot, because he was the one following my mom around, and he didn't mind coming out in the open, during the daytime. He didn't mind being seen, and that's unnatural for these creatures. Okay,
Right,
totally unnatural. But yet this one was doing it,
right,
and that's when I found a game warden. He was parked over at the bridge, not the river bridge, but right here on the other side of my front fence at a little creek bridge. And I was telling him what was going on, and he wanted to come on the property and see. Wanted me to show him, so I brought him over here. I showed him where we were seeing these creatures, played him some audio, little stuff like that, and we talked a little bit. And he actually told me, and a lot of people know what I've said already about this. He told me that they were federally protected because we was wanting to get rid of this thing, okay, because of him following my mom around, and that was our biggest objective was getting that thing out of here. So we started talking to that game warden about shooting him, and he said we couldn't, unless one of them's there, and that's when he come out with the, fairly protected stuff. So eventually he left, and I still continued filming toward that little area that they was always at. And this one night, I catch like a light. I mean, I got this on film. It's like a flashing light going up, and then you can see it starting to go this way before it goes out of screen, and it makes you wonder what that was. Well, I eventually found out what it was. It was a drone, flying over that little area that I showed this game warden.
right.
Well, a few weeks after that footage, we had 2 or 3 days of machine gun fire tracing off through the woods. And after that, we never seen that big brown one again. The black ones are still coming in, but that big brown one, never seen again. Never
I,
seen again. As much as he kept coming out, I mean, I got numerous things of him. I got him standing right behind me on a trail cam photo. But when me and my pastor come out my front door, that thing standing right behind us. He's the one I got on that baby cam footage right out here in the open, between mine and my mom's house, going around that tree. He's standing right there at that one area that I'm talking about, looking over there toward my mom in the backyard. I caught that one on security camera. And there's a few other times I had got him, but that wasn't normal. And that really was scaring us, This big old thing, as big as he was, was following my mom, and we know how people feel about their moms. I love my mom. I'm gonna protect her with everything I got.
yeah.
But I'm kind of glad they did what they did. But then again, I ain't.
I'm not going to go into it because every time I get into that story, all of a sudden internet goes wacky, everything goes happen. But I've had similar where
Yeah.
I've had a drone flying over that I could not identify,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of gunfire, a
Yeah.
lot of gunfire,
Yeah.
and the same thing happened in my area. It just went still.
Yeah.
It just died, and it's
Yeah.
to this day it's never got back to where it was. Occasionally I'll find something, but nothing like it used to be
Yeah.
after that incident. So,
But
but I don't want
man, you'd figure that would stop them from coming in. It didn't stop them. Did not stop them. They still come through here every year.
now. Do you think it's seasonal? Is there a time of the year where it just stops and things are calmed down?
It stops down sometimes 3 weeks to a month or two, but it starts right back up. It's like a
Right.
up, down, up, down thing. But the biggest activity that we got is from the time the hunters start putting their corn out till after hunt season is the biggest. Yo, most activity happens out here.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this on my research channel, and I've mentioned it on the podcast a couple of times. Is I'm not 100% sold on migration, but
Mm-mm.
I am sold on they move a lot wherever the food sources are. You
Wherever
know
the
what I
food
mean?
source is. I mean,
And
because what was the first thing I said? The first thing I said, our most activity is when they start putting out the corn. When they put out the corn, you got your deer. When you got your deer, you're gonna have the squashes right there feeding on them.
oh yeah, you put out any kind of food source like that, because you got some people that habituate by bringing out food and gifts and stuff like that. I don't do it. I don't want to
Mm-mm.
know them that personal.
Nope.
I just want to observe them. But
Mm-hmm.
I think when you do that, you're basically opening up the refrigerator for them to come in and eat. And
Yeah.
I don't do that with any animal. I don't feed any wild animal.
Mm-mm.
I
Me
don't want
neither.
any, not bears, squirrels, or anything. I don't want them habituated. I want them to be able to survive on their own. And anytime you do that, like I said, they become dependent on you to a certain extent,
Yeah.
and then you start having problems. And
Yeah.
I don't want anything like that. I don't want to go out in the woods and they think every time I go out there they're going to get a Hershey's bar or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just
Yep.
want to document and stuff like that, because that's what me and you were talking about earlier. We're really me and you are the same where we're more forensic guided.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're looking, we want what we can see, hear, smell, taste, whatever. Hair, structures, footprints,
Handprints.
audio, video, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, and those are the things that draw me to finding a viable area. We were talking about that earlier. Is if you're in an area and you're a deer hunter, because you were a hunter,
Yep.
when we're trying to find a viable area to hunt deer, that's what we do. We look
Yep.
for the forensic evidence that a deer has been there, scrapes, rubs, bedding, different things like that, droppings, trails, heavily used trails and stuff like that.
Yep.
I use that same aspect when I'm in the woods. I'm trying to find those things. See what I'm saying? And like
Yep.
3 years ago or so, when I started going to this area, I found a lot of that, a whole lot, footprints, just a ton of stuff. It's really dialed down a lot, but the area I go to is 3,000 acres, but it's surrounded by another 9,000 acres.
Hmm.
So it's a very large area for something to avoid me if they wanted to avoid me. So,
Yep.
uh,
Now, I believe the best physical evidence I got are the handprints. Um, I got numerous sets of handprints. My first ones being actually on my passenger side, my passenger door on my truck. One of it got his hand there in the middle, and you can actually tell it actually grabbed the doorknob, And what it's basically doing was looking. My window was halfway down, so what it looks like, it was looking into the window of my truck to see if there was food or something in there,
right.
maybe. The second handprint, which was my best, because it was basically new. I had some researchers out here, Bud, Angie, Miss Pat, and Joe, and Jody, I believe, was here at this time. And right after they left, I ended up getting a really nice handprint right there on my railing of my porch. I mean, it was really nice. And Stacy Brown and them were coming that weekend, so they got to collect, get the samples off of it. They even pulled the hair out of the wood, but it's a perfect handprint of it right there on my porch. And soon after Stacy and them leave, a few days after that, I ended up getting a baby handprint up here at the top of my railing of my porch, and you could tell it was on the inside, on my deck itself, where it put its handprint down. It's my this handprint is my hand is twice the size of this handprint. Okay, that's on the porch. That's how babyish this thing is, a baby handprint. But you tell it jumped up on the railing, and because you can actually see the heel, the greasy heel of this what creature that was up on my porch, and I guess it jumped onto another one that was off my porch. Because I didn't see no footprints. You couldn't find none anyway with the ground the way it is. But it was just a baby one, just a baby handprint, on the deck of my porch, on the railing. The last print I got was nothing but fingerprints. Had four fingers up here. This was right there about this far from my glass door. Four fingers up here, and the thumb was down here, and right there beside my door. And them were the only handprints I got, but all physical evidence of it, So that's
Yeah,
my best physical.
I'm really big on any kind of forensic. I
Yeah.
really am. You know what I mean? Now I don't go as far as if I come across hair, and I'll bag it and tag it, but as far as getting it DNA tested, I'm not going to do that. For first of all, it's very expensive. I already got enough money invested in what I do, anyways. A lot of people don't realize if you're going to get it actually done properly, it's about $1,000, and I don't
Yeah.
want to spend $1,000 just to be told I found a bear. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
those people that have hair and it's in their freezer, you're really wasting your time. Either get it tested or do away with it because,
Yep.
like I said, the bottom line, it's very expensive. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
those that can do it, more power to you. Get it tested. Let's get some DNA out there. Let's find it. I'm just not that person because I just can't afford it. You know what I mean? And like I
Now.
said, when I'm by myself, I can't carry everything. All my equipment and everything. People seen me. I've gone with some groups and stuff like that. I've got a chest rig, shoulder rig, and a leg rig, which a lot of people don't see in my videos. But I'm wearing a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm only one person, and it wears you out pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what I
Miss
mean?
Bella, she just reminded me of something I totally forgot about this, which I shouldn't have. My wife was in the bedroom, watching TV. I'm out here on the computer, and next thing you know, I hear a boom, boom, boom back there toward her bedroom. She come running out. I said, "Babe, was that you messing around the room?" She said, "No, that was something banging on the wall." I mean, it was dark. We couldn't see nothing anyway. And I didn't bother going looking the next day or whatever. I had two great friends come over, Phyllis and John, and I was telling them about it and showed them whereabouts it, where the banging come from. I thought it was closer to the window, but John, he's looking, and right there on the corner of my house, right there at the master bedroom, you could actually see fist marks where it hit the wall. You can see the orange mud 10 foot up on the trailer.
Right.
Look like a hand, finger smears come down, hit again, and down lower, head level, is where you can actually see look like hair streaks, but you can still see that orange muddish
Right.
color there that shouldn't be there, and it was right on the corner of the house, on this side of the corner, on the master bedroom side, right there, and
Wow.
they found that for me. I'm glad they able to see that.
Now,
You
have
know.
you, because somebody asked this earlier, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm not posting a lot of questions because we're really involved with the
Hey,
guests.
ask
Yeah,
anything
we're
y'all
we're
want.
going to get to that portion where I'm going to allow them to start throwing some questions out there. But one of them did ask earlier, and it's a question I've asked in the past to other people: is did you smell anything? Like you said, if you have a window half open or something like that, have you smelt anything that said, okay, something ain't right?
I've smelled something twice, once here and once somewhere else. The one here, me and my brother was walking down that little trail, and we come across something that smelled rottish dead, like something that was decaying. Okay, that's what the smell smelled like. Decay, something dead, decayed. And we looked around, could not find nothing dead around us, nothing. And but then, you know, we went back there where my tree stand was, come back out, smell was gone, just
Yeah,
gone.
yeah, it's
That's the
happened to
only
me.
time I've ever smelt something here.
Yeah, it's like the two times that I'm in my tent and I had this whatever outside of my tent. I didn't smell anything. Even when I had my very first encounter, I didn't smell anything. I'm one of those that leans on the side of. I mean, granted, here in Florida we call it the skunk ape, but I have two theories. One is that it's a smell that they protrude as far as a warning mechanism, that they actually create the smell themselves when they need it, like a skunk would, and say, "Hey,
Yep.
I'm here, go away," or they use it as an attractant to let the females know, "Hey, I'm here, hubba
Yeah,
hubba, smell my cologne, I'm ready to rock and roll."
yeah.
Um, so I think that to be stealth and quiet and sneak up and stuff like that, I you never smell anything. See what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I think that it's something they can control. But again, that's just my theory. There's no experts. So that's what I believe. I just don't think they stink all the time. I mean,
Mm-mm.
they get the bad rap, like they're called Bigfoot because they got big feet. They're called skunk ape here because they smell like a skunk. But I don't think that's all the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We talk about big feet. 16 inches, like you mentioned before, is common. It's very common. A lot of times, I think more times than not, when I ask people what size, 16 inches seems to be the norm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Occasionally, you will get something bigger, or you will get something smaller.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at average, I think 16 inches may be the average. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I always consider 16 to 18 average. Usually be in that area, 16, 18, because I have got a couple 18 inches on tracks. That first one we found after I caught two of them crossing the yard. I had called some. Let me see, think how to put it. Large animal, large nuisance animal removers. Okay, I paid two guys from Montgomery to come out here. Okay, I knew what we was dealing with this time. What I found these two crossing the yard. Matter of fact, Dirt Road played it on this show one time. Well, I told them, which way they went, and we walked back there, and that's where we seen the two footprints. One big one, which that ended up being about 18 inches, and then you had the smaller one, which it was about, I'd say, 6 to 8 inches. You know, but both of them had splayed toes. Um, they were just. I got the pictures of them. They really nice. I
Right.
got them posted on my Facebook page. They really nice prints. Really nice. You
Right.
can actually see my foot up beside that big print. You can actually see
Yeah,
my
it's
foot
really
there.
weird. I have it's down here. I've shown it a few times, but I do have a copy of the Patterson Gimlin foot that I
Hmm.
had um, got from Jeff.
16 inches. Am I down?
We were both down there for a second, but we're good.
Okay.
But I'll take this print. I took this print to a buddy of mine house one time. He lives up in Port Charlotte, right on the water, and we do saltwater fishing every year. So I took it with me because his son was coming. Now his son played college football. His son is 6'9". His son is huge, huge, huge man. And I put this down on the floor and had him put his foot beside it, and it dwarfed his foot. And he's a huge man. I mean, his shoes. I'm a size 11, and if I put
Hmm.
I would be like putting my foot in a hallway. That's how big his shoes were. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yep.
yet, Patty's foot, being only I think 16 inches, I haven't measured it, dwarfed his foot. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because shoe
Yep.
size is not inches, guys.
Exactly.
Shoe size is not inches. I
Exactly.
wear a size 11. That doesn't mean I have 11-inch foot. See what I'm saying? So, um, it's amazing how big these feet really are, but they have to be. They're supporting a
Yep.
lot of weight. They're happening. Let's
Yep.
get into some questions, guys, because we're having a fantastic show. Uh, you know, Flatrock, you're awesome, dude. This is really great. So if anybody's got any questions, can you see the stuff that I post up on the screen,
Yeah, I can
Flatrock?
see it. Yeah, I can see
Okay.
it.
So as people ask questions, I'm going to pop them up there, and when I put it up there, go ahead and answer it. Now, guys, we're not going to get to everybody, but we're going to do the best we can. Um, but like I said, I think it's amazing that you're having this stuff go on at such proximity to your house. Some people might see it as a curse, but those of us that are in the Bigfoot field, that's the mother lode. You know what
Yep.
I mean? That's the golden ticket right there. Um, but like I said, thankfully and thank God that you guys have not been harmed in any way. They're not destroying your house. They're not ripping doors off the hinges and busting windows out and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But they are letting themselves known.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Which is probably not necessarily a bad thing. So I'm
Yep.
saying, um,
What I like is, once I started getting on YouTube and seeing other folks that's dealing with the same thing that we're dealing with just here in Alabama. Greg, Mark, um, Miss Joyce, um, I can't think of his name, Skunk Ape something. Um, all of them have them in their yard, okay, on their property. And to be able to listen to them, it helps me and my family as well by knowing their knowledge. Like,
right,
say, Greg, he's been dealing with them for over 20 something years. There's a lot of knowledge there, And I'm just talking about here in Alabama. I know Johnny's in Georgia, but I'm just talking about right here in Alabama.
right,
And so much knowledge there where I can get so much information. And that's where, I've been able to, you know, calm things down
right,
some,
right.
mostly myself and my family.
Well, I think if
But
you go
my
at it,
mom, my mom, she still won't come outside at night, okay? my brother, even though these creatures ain't doing what they was doing, you know, from back in 2019, early 2020, my brother still will not walk in the woods by himself. Period. You know, period. I mean that's how these creatures have changed their lives. Even though they're not hurting us, they still got that stigma
Right.
of these just a immense size and
Right.
seeing these creatures, and
Right.
that's a big thing. You know, it's the stigma of these creatures that they put on you. You know,
Well,
and
yeah, I think anybody that
fearful
has an
fearful as
encounter.
killing, no, but fearful as the stigma, knowing they're out there and they can come up on you and you not even hear them. You know, it does mess with a person's mind. It does. It does.
Yeah, the like I said, and we talked about this earlier. Um, I don't care who you are. Your very first encounter or visual of one of these creatures, the
Hmm.
fear is going to be the first thing that you're going to
Yeah.
feel,
All I
because
could do is drop my head. That's all I could
you're
do.
looking at something that's not supposed to exist according to
That's right.
everybody else.
That's right.
We grow up as children, boogeyman under the bed, boogeyman in the woods, boogeyman in the dark, and then all of a sudden you see this thing, and
Yeah.
it scares you because we're pre-programmed by family members from a young age or whoever, scary movies, whatever motivated it to put that fear of the woods at night in us,
Hmm.
and so I tell everybody, you know, chances are your very first sighting you're not going to catch anything because fear takes over. There's a lot of researchers that say, I thought I was ready, but then when I saw it, I forgot I had a camera on me. You know what I mean? Because reality sets in.
Yeah. It
Reality
does
sets
set
in.
in.
And the mind is an amazing thing, and not only will it play tricks on you, but it also goes into a protective mode
Yeah.
where it's trying to process what it's looking at. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And sometimes it takes people a little while before they'll come out and say something
Yeah.
because they're still going through that process. They're trying to
That's right.
process what they experienced and stuff like that. You know, anybody in the chat room, if you have a question, throw it out there. You know, Flatrock is an open book. He'll answer anything you got. Like I said, man, I'm ecstatic. I really feel bad that Johnny wasn't here because Johnny really, really wanted to be a part of the show. He really did. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
you know, he was looking forward to talking to you. And I'm pretty sure he had a lot of questions. I'm pretty sure I didn't ask any questions that he might have wanted to ask you and stuff like that. Um, but you know, keep doing what you're doing.
Oh
I
yeah.
think you're going about it the right way.
Yeah.
You know, I think moving the cameras consistently, I think that's pretty good. I think that throws them off guard. You're keeping them
Yeah.
off balance. I think that's a good
Right. What's
idea.
it? Well, I don't film no more. I just record. I stopped filming like in 22, but still use my camera as a recorder. You know, and it works just as good as a regular recorder because I'm
Right.
able to Bluetooth into it to where I can get it on my iPad and listen to it and you know work the recorder from right where I'm sitting.
Right.
You know,
Doug House asked when you're going to come visit him.
say that again.
Doug House in the chat room. I think his name
Doug.
is Doug House.
Greg
Greg House.
House.
Greg House. I'm sorry, Greg. Greg
Uh,
asked earlier when you're gonna come see him.
I'd love to get up there to Greg's house. You know, I really do. I've been up there once. Um, I'm hoping to get up there when the conference. You know, sometime up in that area. You know, I'd love to go over there.
Dirt Road
Yeah.
asked, "Have you seen a female that you can
Mm,
recognizably say that was a
I
female?"
haven't seen the boobs on them, but I'm sure I have seen the female because the children were right there with her.
Right.
So I figured that was a female and not a male. I mean, because they was the juvenile, I say the mama, and then you had the three children right there to her side, you know. And so I'm figuring that was a mama. I think all the males I've seen were all by themselves. the females always had some a small one with them.
Right.
That's what I've seen all the time.
Oh, I'm pretty sure if you saw juveniles, there was a female somewhere.
Yeah,
Squatch and Holler asks, how many times have you caught them looking in your window?
one, two, three times here, one time at my mom's that I know of.
Yeah, that's one too
And
many for me.
that's what I've actually seen with my own eyes. You know.
Wow. Yeah, that's one too many for me. That's
Yeah.
the last thing I want to do. Last thing I
Well,
want to do is hear something and
yeah.
pull the curtains apart and there's a face staring at
Yeah.
me, man.
Well, the
That
first
will
one,
ruin me.
yeah, the first one that was on that footage, that one that goes around the tree, he's looking right in the window. Uh, the second one that I seen was right here in my brother's room, and it was looking in. Cause I guess it was reacting to the flashing of the light of the TV, because it's the one who left the handprints on the porch. No, that was the third one. The second one was the bathroom. I was in the bathroom sitting down, you know what I mean, and I could see the two eyes looking in the bathroom between the blinds of in the bathroom. You could actually see the glow of the eyes in between the blinds while I was in the bathroom. Them were the three. Yeah.
Yep. Yep, that would get me. That would
Yeah.
get me. I'd like I said, I don't. I'd probably have a coronary right there if I opened up my curtains and that thing's staring me right in
Yeah.
the face. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't think I'd.
Yep.
I think he crossed the line there. You
Yeah.
know? I was
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm
You
going.
can
I'm taking up.
imagine. Well, you can imagine my thoughts when I seen that one. I was sitting down in the bathroom, so you can imagine
Yep.
what I was thinking on that one.
Yep. I had one time where I thought, because I was in my tent and I looked out the window. Long story short, I looked out the window. I won't go through the whole story because we're going to go over my encounter and Johnny's encounters in a future show. But there was something knelt down outside the window of my tent, staring right at me,
Hmm.
and I could look at it and I could see the silhouette, head, shoulders. Um, that was scary enough. It was scary enough that my dog. It was the first time I had taken my dog out in camping with me, and he was growling. He was
Yep.
growling at what? That's what alerted me to it was the dog growling, and that was
Dogs are
scary
your
enough.
best tool.
Yeah.
Period.
Oh, I absolutely.
Best tool.
I can see why Sasquatch don't like dogs. See what I'm saying? I think they know that's our first alert system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not only that, I think that they refer them, right along with wolves and coyotes and everything else, and they probably had some bad encounters with those creatures, those other animals in the woods. You know what I mean? 'Cause,
Possibly so. Yeah.
because if you come across a kill, it's open for everybody. So if you're sitting there eating a dead carcass, another animal's going to want a part of that. And
I've
then when
actually
you,
recorded a kill. You know that, Richard?
oh wow,
I've actually recorded a kill. That they killed a canine out there. You could tell he heard it, by the way it's yelping, and then you hear him slam it. You
wow,
um, I won't play the audio to it, but I will send it to you. That way you can hear it for yourself. But I
yeah, I've
have
had,
heard them kill it.
yeah, I found a hog, a pig. I better say pig because every time I say hog, somebody thinks I said hawk. You know what I mean? No, a hog, but a pig, and its legs were broken.
Yeah.
I've had found deer carcasses where the legs are broken in half.
Mm.
Um, different things like that.
Yeah.
Like Johnny's found squirrels that were dead for no reason and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And sometimes I think they gift those things. They'll
Yeah.
leave it on your, unless you have cats, you gotta see things scientifically. If I walked out my door and there's a dead squirrel on my patio that didn't have any visible marks that what killed it. I do have feral cats around here, so I'd have to rack it up as a feral cat was gifting me some because cats will gift you. But if I live somewhere where I ain't seen a cat in never,
Yeah.
and then I found an animal laying somewhere where it shouldn't be, like the hood of my car, let's say, that would tell me, okay, something awkward is going on here and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, I'm not gifting these things, and I don't want them to gift me. I just want to document. That's all I want to do, and
That's
that's what
all I
you're
want
doing.
to
You're
do.
you're documenting.
That's
And
it.
I like I said, I'm so glad that you're able to do it from the safety of your home because I would love that. I would love to
Yeah.
be able because I have a huge area behind my house, and I am surrounded by forest. Um, but in my mind, it's not enough forest to have a habitat of Sasquatch in it, so I don't paint the woods around my. I have bears. They come right through the lawn. They come through. I see them, and they dump trash cans and stuff like that. Um, but they're moving because I'm not as a crow flies. It's nothing but forest between me and the next few miles.
Yeah.
But where I'm at, they would have to cross some sketchy areas to get to where my house is at. But as a crow flies, like when I fly my drone and stuff like that, there's a lot of forest, and it goes right up to a state park. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and that's where the bears are coming from. But they're coming in residential areas because they know there's food there in these trash cans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, 'cause I do what I do, mainly for safety, for my family. That way we know when they've moved up, when they're all the way up to us,
yeah,
I can actually call my brother if he got to take his dog out. I can tell him, I'm hearing this over here, take him around the other way, or, or he just won't do it at all. And, but that's the main reason I set up this parabolic, is for the safety purposes of my family. And all when I had the cameras out all the time, it was always for safety. It was never for research.
right.
It was never for investigation. Um, it was just strictly for the safety of my family.
Yeah,
And what went on with that big one following my mom around.
yeah,
That was That's the main reason I do what I do now.
yeah,
And I ain't stopped. I've been filming. I've been recording and filming for since 2019, and I do it every night, sometime during the day.
yeah.
But I'm listening out every night. That way, I don't gotta sit out there on the porch or walk in the woods. I can do it right here in the comfort of my living
And
room.
that's fantastic. And with that said, let me address Doug again because Doug's like, it ain't so great having him around your house.
That's true.
It is no fun. I'm not saying it's fun, but as a person that's investigating this, it's just better than tracking in the woods. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'd like
yeah,
to walk out on my porch and be able to do what I do from there instead of hiking 3, 4, 5 miles in the woods
yeah,
and lugging a bunch of equipment or camping and stuff like that. It'd be nice just
yep.
to as a research point of view.
That's
Now
it.
as a recreational, I live here. My kids play in the yard or something like that. Yeah, I probably wouldn't like it. You
Yeah.
know. Also, when Squatch and Holler, I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you for subbing. I know it's a great show, and it is a great show. Absolutely, this is a great show.
Roger's a
But
good dude.
it's even better when Johnny's here. Just letting y'all know. We there's a few times I do. I'm the only one on the show, but that's only due to like I said, Johnny's busy or I'm busy or um, we have poor internet connection and stuff like that. That and the other guy. That's why there's two of us. We work together. Me and Johnny work as a team. We have that attitude. The show must go on. We're going to find a way to have the show, even if it's one of us or both of us. So, but I appreciate you, Squatch and Holler. I really do. We do this for free. We do this for entertainment and enjoyment and to get the stories out and talk to people that have had these encounters so we can get the word out there. Awareness mostly. Um, but the subscribers are everything. You guys are fantastic, and this is a new channel. We just started the Sasquatch Unredacted podcast in December. It's growing. It's slow moving, but we're very happy with the progress that we're making. So anybody, please subscribe. It's Sasquatch Unredacted podcast on YouTube. We also have our research channels. Johnny Two Bears has Sasquatch Encounter Brigade on YouTube. He's got some fantastic stuff happening right now. He just created his own little documentary. If y'all guys want to go check that out, it's really good. He's catching some really neat stuff. I have my research channel. It's not as good as Johnny's. You know what I mean? I do a lot of time in the woods, hiking and looking and finding, but a lot of times I don't find anything. That's what squatching is. You were talking about the most elusive creature we could possibly think of. So no, you're not going to get a shot of Bigfoot or footprints and structures every single time you watch my videos. But I do take everybody along for the ride. I try to make it entertaining. I want everybody to enjoy nature like I enjoy nature. I'm very big on conservation and maintaining the forest that we have and maintaining the animals that we have and stuff like that. You know. So and my channel is BFFG Bigfoot Research. Please check me out. You know, but it's the subscribers and stuff like that. And Flatrock was there. He sees these people at the conference. You know,
Mm-hmm.
everybody, 2,000 people at that conference. I guarantee you, every single one of them is subscribed to a Facebook page or a YouTube channel on
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot. See what I'm saying? So there's a lot of people out there, and it's all about them. Those people that watch and listen and pass on information. It's fantastic. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So check out our channels and stuff like that. I did just start a Facebook page, and this is what got me. And we talked about it earlier. You know, with your situation with the general public. Everybody knows my full name, and that was by accident, really, but I don't care. So I have a lot of people that hit me up as a friend on my personal channel. I'm just making it clear to everybody. I do not discuss Bigfoot or anything really on my regular Facebook page, but I do have a Bigfoot Florida guy, or BFFG Bigfoot Florida guy, Facebook page. So that's where I'll discuss things. That's where I post things and stuff like that. So check that out. Sasquatch Encounter Brigade also has a Facebook page. Sasquatch Unredacted Podcast, we have a Facebook page. Those are the places we'd like to gear things more towards Bigfoot. Not that I don't mind you guys friending me, but I do have like 100 people in limbo where I have not approved because I don't know these people, and I got to be cautious because that is my personal page, and I don't put personal stuff on it. I don't talk about work. I don't talk about family. My Facebook page is basically me, sharing other posts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal page. Um, and you ran into that too. Me and you were talking about it earlier, where
Oh yeah,
you
on
had to
my YouTube page,
because
yeah.
because you use your real name, it becomes very personal, and we
Let
try
me
to
put
stay
it this
away from
way.
that.
Other than that, what I told you earlier about that demanding to come on the property, the when I totally stopped using my name was when a dude, a guy who calls himself a researcher, sent a Google map of my property and my house and asked, "Ain't this where you live?" And it was my property and my house. You know, my name stopped at that moment.
Right,
Period. When
right,
that dude sent that map of my house
right.
just by using my name.
Oh yeah. Hey,
Crazy.
and people got to understand that we do have our personal lives, and we like to keep that personal. Bigfoot is separate. It's separate. I rack it up as a hobby. I do not get paid for this. I do not get paid for the podcast. I do not get paid for my research. I don't get paid to be out in the woods. This is something I do out of pocket, and it's cost me a lot of money. And
Yep.
but I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's my enjoyment. I just
Yep.
share that enjoyment with the general public so they can be involved and stuff like that. I'm always big on positive feedback. Guys,
Mm-hmm.
negativity will get you nowhere. I see it all
That's
the
it.
time where people come on these different Facebook pages, these Bigfoot Facebook pages, and they start just being rude and disrespectful. Okay, if you're not into Bigfoot, then find something you are interested. Why are you wasting that energy to mock other people or to argue with other people or whatever? Go find what you do enjoy. If it's boating, fishing, hunting, there's so many Facebook pages out there that you could be a member of and enjoy it. Bigfoot Facebook pages are for Bigfoot people. We like talking about it. We like conversation. Me and Dirt Road, we've had numerous times where we have 3, 4 hour long conversations because we just enjoy talking about Bigfoot in the Bigfoot world. Um, there's no room for negative people. I just won't deal with it.
Yep.
And so I'm lucky enough that Wendell's asking me if I'm coming up to Alabama. I would like to. you know, I really would. There's a lot of places I would like to go, but
I'll tell you.
with me,
Go
it's
ahead, Rich.
it's it's money or time, and sometimes I just don't have one or the other. But I have a very busy work schedule. Being the boss, I take on a huge responsibility with my team, and sometimes I work 7 days a week. Matter of fact, just so y'all know, this weekend I keep saying this and it never happens. Y'all don't see my personal life. This weekend. Fingers crossed, will be the first Saturday and Sunday I've had off since December.
Yep.
See what I'm saying? So I'm a very,
I mean,
very, very busy person.
I've been pretty lucky so far, Richard. The group I've been following, like Woodwalkers, Squatch and Holler, Mark Green's channel, and some others. It's basically, you know, the same people,
Right.
but there's absolutely none negativity going on in them chats. And and these people, I consider my family. I mean, they're just great people. You can't ask for better people. A lot of them's right here in this chat,
Oh yeah,
and
this chat I've
I
been watching all
appreciate
night.
every dang
Fantastic.
one of these guys.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
they
The
are
chat
great,
room tonight,
and I
fantastic.
go
Great,
ahead.
great,
Yeah,
great people in the chat room tonight. Fantastic people. You
yep,
know, like you mentioned, like Spencer. I think Spencer's a great guy.
yep,
With Woodwalker. I think
yep,
I've never ever heard anything negative about him, and I won't say anything negative about him. I think he's a fantastic guy. Um, there's a lot of channels out there I do follow that I think is legit. There's a lot of Facebook pages. I monitor. I watch a lot. I'm probably a member of like 20 something Bigfoot Facebook pages because I'm just watching. I don't
yep,
comment a whole lot, but I am watching and seeing what people are talking, what's the discussion this at this time and stuff like that.
yep,
Sometimes I'll
yep,
address those issues on my show, on my channel, and discuss it and stuff like that. There's a lot of information out there. But with that
yep,
said, there's a lot of misinformation. A lot
yep,
of misinformation. You know what I mean?
yep,
Like, first time ever, we've been doing the show since December. I removed a comment in the chat room for the first time tonight. And it wasn't like he was, it's just the comment was not good. He wasn't bashing anybody or anything like that. He was not offensive to anybody. So I didn't remove him from the chat. I just took that statement out where, he
yeah.
was claiming that these things are evil and they're the devil and stuff like that.
Demonic, yeah,
Yeah, it's not and nobody can back that up with any viable proof that that's what they are. They're not. I'm one of those people. I'll tell you, they're not the Nephilim. They're not. They don't even meet the.
yeah,
If you ever actually look at the description of the Nephilim, Bigfoot does not meet the description. Does not meet it at all. See what I'm saying? Um, so I kind of stay away from that. I stick to living, breathing creature, walking the earth, and I got to find it. You know what I mean? So, but again, the chat room has been fantastic, absolutely
yep.
fantastic. I can't even begin to start calling names and thanking everybody that was here tonight. It was just fantastic, and I owe that a lot to you, Flatrock, because everybody likes you, man. And
Well, let me
just
get three more in real quick.
sure, we got
You
time.
got the Oddcast podcast, you got Dirt Road, and you got Muddy Creek. Um, you know, great, great podcast, great podcast. But back to this, I like watching Johnny, out of all of them because he's dealing with the same thing we are.
Right,
He's
correct.
researching right there at his house, and he's doing pulling out great stuff, really great stuff, almost all similar to what I've seen here as well. You know, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah,
You know, that's what you want to see. You want to see that evidence, and he's putting that evidence out there. He's putting that data out there, and online cryptid. That's who I was thinking of. That's also another great podcast. But Johnny's doing fantastic, and I hope he stays on. I mean, I know he said they were building something out there that's probably going to end what he's doing. I
Yeah,
hope it don't,
it's
but
one of those things where business encroaches into these properties and stuff like
yeah.
that. But what I can say about Johnny, and I've known Johnny for a long time. Me and Johnny are good friends. He's my brother from another mother. That's why we do the podcast together. Um, he's very, very intense.
Yeah.
He's involved. The Bigfoot is a very serious thing in his life, and he takes it very seriously. So, we both love the subject. We both involve ourselves in the subject and stuff like that. But again, like you said, he is in the same category as you, where all he's got to do is walk outside of his house, get into the woods, and he's having encounters. He's having incidences of rock throwing or growls or whistles or wood knocks. He's having that.
Mhm.
Like I said, I envy you guys because in the morning I will be getting up, loading up my truck, getting everything together, and driving somewhere, parking, putting on all this gear, and then start hiking in the woods. And I'm
Mhm.
not a spring chicken, so it does wear on you after a while. So
Yep.
there was a question here. Let me put that on the screen so you can see it. Oops. Flat Rock, if you had it all to do over, would you have moved on to that property? So basically, if you
Well,
knew there was something going on, would you have moved there?
if we knew they were here, no, no, absolutely not. But we didn't know. The people who sold us the property knew, but we didn't know. All we was told was don't leave food out. That's the only thing we was told. Don't leave food and garbage out.
Right.
So I mean, like I told you earlier, you take that as a bear, coon, possum, coyote, whatever, come digging in the trash. That's how we took that statement. You
Right.
know, but coming into this, not knowing and believing these things were real.
I
No.
would have to say you would still move there because I think if the people were moving out and you were moving in and they passed by you and said, "Oh, by the way, you got Bigfoot here," you probably would have laughed at them back then.
I probably would have because
You know what I'm
we
saying?
didn't believe in them. Did
Yep.
not believe in them. Did not.
And I think that makes the best witness is a person that absolutely did not believe, and then had an encounter. Like me, I
Yep.
was agnostic. I wasn't for or against. I was a deer hunter. I spent a lot of time in the woods. If somebody asked me about Bigfoot, I'd be like, who knows?
Yep.
Maybe there's something out there. I don't know. I've never seen it, but there's probably, maybe, who knows? I was just, whatever, until it happens to you. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? Um, but I
But can
think
I
the,
finish? Can I add on a
yeah,
little bit more to that?
sure,
Now that I know these creatures are here and they're not going to harm us, I mean, they'll harass us, but they're not going to harm us. That's so far, so good. I'm going to die here on this property,
yeah.
okay? I mean, am I ever going to move? No. Do I enjoy sharing yard with them? No. But I enjoy, being able to hear them, uh, to hear what they're doing out there, to being able to, show my friends who's wanting that little bit of encounter, or them researchers who want to come over here and and try to get some of that data to get out there in the world. Yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy having people come over here and camp at my house. Sit out by the fire, eat good food. All that good stuff. I wouldn't leave that for nothing in the world. Can't
Well,
beat that. Can't
look
beat
at what
that.
look at one of the biggest benefits you've gotten, Flat Rock. Look at
Mhm.
all the friends you've made.
Mhm. That's right.
See what I'm saying? I've
That's
got a
right.
lot of friends in the Bigfoot community that I would have never known. I would have never known. And I've met some fantastic people,
Yeah.
some really good people that I feel close to, that I know I could pick up the phone and talk to them and shoot the breeze and stuff like that. So, um, you know, that's the best thing about it. You meet some good friends.
Mhm.
There's some shady ones out there, You know, it's kind of like the Facebook page. You got to weed through some shady people to get to the really good people. But there are
Yeah,
some really good people out there,
yeah, yeah,
and I've got their back. I know they got my back, and I like helping people, so I'll help out any way I can and stuff like that. Um, you know, but well, we've been doing this for 2 hours and 9 minutes, man. That was fantastic. A lot of fun. That was a lot of fun, man. Um, yeah. Say, Greg said Flatrock is very respected and loved in this family. See, feel that love, feel that love. But we've got to meet in person, and we've spoken on the phone and stuff. You have my number, Flatrock. You have my number. You can call me
hmm
anytime. If
yep,
something new happens on a property and you want to call me, say, "Hey Rick, guess what just happened?" I'd love to
yeah,
sit talk to you on the phone and stuff like that, or just call me to tell me how you're doing. Just
yeah,
tell me, "Hey man, I caught a 10-pound bass this week." I don't care what it is. You got my number. Give me a call. A lot of the people I've had on the shows, they do contact me. They do give me a call, see how I'm doing. I see how they're doing. Sometimes I take a full day and do nothing but call people that were on the show. That's what I
yeah.
do, and I just reach out to them and say, "Hey, how you doing?" Like Todd Neese and different people, and there's some great people out there and a lot of information, and
They
you're
are,
learning a
they
lot.
are.
You're learning a lot, and you know a lot, and I think you're handling it in the right direction. I think you're doing
Yeah.
really well.
Well, even though, I don't know if the other people enjoy having these creatures on their property, but I gotta thank them for putting out that information because that's where I get my information from these people who have them right there coming up
Right.
to their house. That's the best source of information when it comes to these creatures. When you're dealing with that same exact thing, you know what these people are being honest or not. And these people are the greatest, greatest. And I learn a lot from these people. A
Well,
lot.
I'm putting
Like
this.
Johnny too. That's. I'm glad he's doing what he's doing, and he decided to put his stuff on there because he's the only one doing it. The
Yeah.
only one doing it.
Like I said,
You
you guys are in a very unique situation where you have it at such close proximity to your home. I'm calling out Dirt Road. He said that's strange. He never gets a call. I'm just letting everybody know he gets a call. He gets a call. He gets a call 3-4 times a week if I can do it. So don't listen to Dirt Road.
Dirt Road, my buddy. Dirt Road, hey buddy, I got it on.
Yeah,
Guys, Dirt Road sent me a shirt. Says Dirt Road Bigfoot, and he got my name on it right here.
I've
Flat
got one
Rock.
as well.
I
He
love
sent
it.
me.
Love
Yep,
it.
he sent me one as well.
Love it.
And I have some shows planned in the future. I'm gonna wear that shirt. I really am. I just wore this one only because we just got off of the conference. This is our first show since the conference. I want to show everybody the conference
Mm-hmm.
shirt. But yeah, Dirt Road. Dirt Road's he's another guy that's a brother from another mother. We talk all the time, and all things Bigfoot and all things Bigfoot community. So great guy. So we're going to go ahead and end the show. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of questions being asked, and I was hoping that at the end we'd have quite a few questions. Keep you busy there. I like that. I know he's just a great name, but hey, Win Clan Kin, that's a pretty good name too. I like that. So just throwing it out there. But I
That's my
want to thank
buddy
you.
too.
Yeah, I like that name. Wish I had something fancy other than Richard. I actually here's a funny story. If anybody wants to hear this real quick, when I first got into the Bigfoot community, I had to use my real name. Okay, and long story short, Carrie Arnold and myself became friends. We'd been out in the woods together and stuff like that. And I always went. He knew my name, but on when I was anytime I was online or in a chat room or whatever, and he mentioned me, he used a particular name that I was using, and it's because of the
Mm-hmm.
nature of what I do for a living. Um, well, one day he slipped, and he said my real name, and I remember the show because I'm like what, and I saw his face change, like he knew he
Mm-hmm.
just screwed up, at the end of after that show was over, he called me and he said, "Dude, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Cat's out of the bag. It is what it is."
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But
yeah.
you know,
Kerry was the best. He was
yeah,
great at what he did.
he was a great guy. I do miss him dearly. I do miss
I
him
met
dearly.
him. I met him over at the Tennessee conference
Yep, he was up at Gatlinburg.
right before he passed.
Yeah.
Um, Me and him was actually, it was me, him, and Katie G. We was standing there, and he was talking about, I think going over to Katie's house, I believe, and he was also, he wanting to come over to my house as well. But as you know, we didn't get that far,
Yeah.
because of the passing of him. But
Yeah.
I actually cried for that man. I did when I heard he passed. I actually cried for him.
Yeah.
That's how much I respected that dude.
Yeah. I was lucky enough, and some guys that I was with at the time, we were lucky enough to had the opportunity on numerous occasions to be out in the woods with him and enjoy his company. And he was an amazing man. Um, you know, a lot of respect in him and what he
Hmm.
was trying to bring to the community and stuff like that. I know when he passed away, it was late. It was when I got the word. Somebody had called me at work and said, "You're not going to believe this," and they told me what had happened. I was already on the phone, already hitting people up, really trying to verify it and let them know what I just heard. And I think that night, I mean, I it was hard to grasp what
Yeah, it
you know what
very
I
much
mean.
was.
Um, you a lot of people. I mean, people pass away all the time, and I handle death very well because
Hmm.
you have to accept your own mortality at some point. And but when it's the worst case scenario, the top
Hmm.
of the food chain, the top, because he was at the top of the game on
Yep,
this whole
the whole thing. Yep.
podcast thing and stuff like that. You can go to Bigfoot Odyssey right now, and he's got 45,000 subscribers. He's been dead for 2 years.
Yeah.
45,000. So
Yep.
technically, he's still the top podcast, even though
Yep.
there's no new episodes, no new shows, or anything like that. And I always
Yep.
encourage people to go and watch those shows and stuff like that. Um, but you know, I just tell myself all the time that my behavior or how I go about things in the field and the things that I do, I just hope I make him proud. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, it was really cool because somebody years ago made this comment to me, and they said, um, "Always remember to have." When you talk about death and going to heaven, there everybody has somebody they want to go to heaven to see.
Hmm.
So live the best life you can so you can make that happen and see that person.
Yep.
And Carrie, other than there's some really fantastic people I've had in my life that have passed away that I want to see again, but Carrie is definitely one of those. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep.
Definitely one of those.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out. Another good person you might want to really look into getting on, you and Dirt Road, is Miss Joy. She's right there in your chat. She also has them there on her property, you know, and she's a good person to actually talk to as well, if she's
Uh,
willing.
I don't know if it's the same Joy I got coming on next week.
Joyce Bama Bigfoot.
Well, I only have her real name.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the same person or not. But I next week we do have a guest named Joy coming on the show. Um, and this goes out to everybody, anybody watching the show or will be watching the show. If you've had an encounter and you want to talk about it, or you're a researcher and you want to talk about what you're finding and you discuss your theories and stuff like that, please hit us up. Sasquatch Unredacted or Sasquatch Unredacted at gmail.com, or you can hit me and Johnny up at our other emails, like I'm BFFG Bigfoot Research at gmail.com. Hit us up. We'll talk to you over the phone, discuss it, and if you want to be on the show, we'll bring you on the show.
Yeah.
We're open. It's You see the show. It's very casual, very laid back. We have a good time, and so if anybody does have an encounter or anything they want to talk about that like that, feel free to reach out to us. You know, we're like-minded. Nobody's going to make fun of you, and I won't allow anybody in the chat room to make fun of you. So, um, you know, all right. Anything else you want to throw out there? Anybody else you want to call out to? Any cousins you want to say hi to? Anything like that? You know.
Just
Um,
3 words: roll damn tide.
that was brought up earlier. I think Dirt Road said it, or somebody said it. Roll Tide. Yeah, I used to watch a lot of college, but with all the controversy in the last few years in football and stuff, I watch one game and one game only every year. Army
Yep.
Navy. I
Yep.
watch that Army Navy game every single time. So go Navy. Um, so, anyways, um, thank you, Flat Rock, for being here. It was fantastic meeting you at the conference and gotten to talk to you and shake your hand in person and stuff like that. You're more than welcome anytime you want to be on the show. So if things are happening and things pick up and you're like, hey, I want to get on the show and let Johnny and Rick know what's going on, you're more than it. We'll make room for you, dude. We'll make
Yep.
room for you. We'll get you on there and you can share whatever it is with everybody, okay?
Yep.
Um, I thank you a lot. I appreciate you. And I'm going to put you backstage, and I'll be back there in a minute, okay?
All right. Later, everybody.
All right, bud. All right, guys. Fantastic show. Fantastic show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you, guys. You amazing chat room tonight. Amazing. You guys are awesome. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. Um, a lot of information out there, and he has some great stuff to tell us. Uh, a lot of channels were thrown out there. Check them out. Check these people out. Check our channels out. Um, and just enjoy the whole Bigfoot community and experience and stuff like that. And stay away from negativity, guys. Stay away from it. I want to thank you all again. I want to wish you all a fantastic weekend, a fantastic Easter. For those of you that celebrate Good Friday, Good Friday. Love each and every one of you guys. God bless you guys. And we'll be seeing you guys next week. We have another show coming up, and look forward to seeing you all there. God bless and take care.